Hello, everyone. My name is Cyrilda Summers McGee, and I'm the founder and CEO of Workplace Change, which is a full-service human resources firm located in Portland, Oregon. Workplace Change has joined forces with the Portland Business Journal to share many of our learnings while working with clients across the nation to help reimagine how human resources shows up in the workplace. We are going to be providing articles on a regular cadence every 2 months to share our learnings through case studies with you. We're going to accompany those articles with Word on the Street, which is our video cast, sharing and going deeper and providing a backstory about what's happening in the article. Our first article with the Portland Business Journal is about conflict in the workplace. I'm going to jump into the case study. In this article, I'm talking about tension in the workplace. When people reach out to Workplace Change because there's friction that's happening between folks in organizations, they reach out to us and they think that they know what the actual undercurrent of the friction is. They'll say, this is happening between these two people because of race, or because of gender, or because fill in the blank. When we arrive, it becomes our responsibility to try to understand what's really at the core of the conflict. Why are people not seeing eye to eye? And is it about race or is it about something else? Which brings us to the case study that I provided during the initial Workplace Change PBJ collaboration. In this situation, there were two chiefs at the company. One was the chief financial officer, the CFO, and the other person was the chief human resources officer, or I will refer to as the CHRO. The company reached out to us because the chief human resources officer, the CHRO, felt that she was being targeted by the CFO based on her race. See, the CHRO was a Black woman and the CFO was a white woman. She felt like she was being unfairly stopped and frisked. That was the language that she was using to really showcase and highlight how she was being made to feel with the excessive audits that she believed she was experiencing. She felt like no one else was experiencing these audits. So we said, let's figure it out. Once my team came on board, we began to speak with people and understand, like, what's the backstory here? And once we started to talk to folks, a few things were unearthed. Thing number one, the CHRO was accurate. She had been audited by the CFO's team 6 times over the course of 11 months, close to a year. So that seemed peculiar to us. 6 audits felt like a lot. And as a person who's been audited, and it was not substantiated that we had done anything wrong, it makes you feel vulnerable. It makes you feel exposed. So to go through that 6 times, we were just kind of like, what is this about? Once we started working with the CFO and speaking with the CFO's team, we identified that the CFO really was targeting the CHRO, but it wasn't predominantly about the CHRO's race. We identified that the CFO actually really wanted to be friends with the CHRO, right? She had reached out on numerous occasions to try to establish a relationship with a close ally and partner in their division. However, the CHRO wasn't really feeling that they had a love connection, if you will. And so the CFO felt like, there was an affront that had happened to her. She didn't feel good about herself. And so she used all of the power that was bestowed inside of her organization to basically lash out at the human resources representative. That wasn't fair. And it didn't make the CHRO feel good. Once we started to dig even deeper into this, we identified that the CFO hadn't only targeted the HR rep. She had targeted other folks. This actually had been a pervasive challenge throughout the organization where if something had happened with the CFO and she didn't like it, she was going to use all of the weight of her organization and place microscopes onto other people's divisions. A lot of folks would say that that was an abuse of power, and it most certainly didn't make her any friends in the organization. And so as a result of us digging deeper and going beyond just, okay, this was excessive use of the audit function. This wasn't fair, what was happening to the CHRO. And we went and we basically got a deeper comprehension of the tension that was happening. We identified that this was basically a case of two people who communicated differently. The case of the introvert versus the extrovert. See, the CHRO was liked by many, many people. She was identified by some as kind of a social butterfly. Folks liked to be around her. And the CFO didn't really have those kind of connections with folks. And so, because they communicated differently and because they didn't see eye to eye, tension and friction came to be. In the article, I say, and I tell my clients this all the time, a lot of people believe that the largest amount of conflict in the workplace is across genders or across races, and it's not. The biggest source of conflict is between the introvert and the extrovert. And the extrovert has no idea. This was that case yet again. The CHRO knew that she was not being treated fairly. And what I do appreciate is that although it took a year for us to get to the solution about this matter, we did get to a place that validated that the CHRO wasn't crazy. She wasn't misinterpreting that there was some abusive power that was happening. But we had to go beyond why she felt she was being targeted to really understand what the issue here was. And it was between an introvert and an extrovert. So that was the summary of the issue. But here are the learnings from this scenario. We now understand the root cause of the conflict that was happening inside the organization. But in workplace change, that's not enough. We need to understand, how did we get here and how do we avoid getting there in the future? And that's where I want to take this conversation now, right? What are the learnings from this and what should we do differently in the future? To begin with, the supervisor of the two chiefs needed to act differently, right? For 11 months, the CHRO was expressing to him that she was enduring trauma and he didn't act. As the supervisor, you have to act. You have to get in the middle of the conflict and choose who was right and who was wrong and direct people to stop, even when race is presented, right? The head of these two ladies expressed to me that he was very uncomfortable with race being placed in the discussion. And so he shut down, suggested that the CHRO take the CFO to lunch. But that was never the human resources person's burden to bear. She was wronged and he needed to act. And he certainly needed to act before 11 months had elapsed, right? As a supervisor, the takeaway here should be, even when something uncomfortable has been presented, race, gender, sexual orientation, you need to process that discomfort and still get to the solution. Help people get to the other side of the conflict. The CFO, there's so much to unpack there, right? The CFO brought her baggage into the job. She had some insecurities. She shared with us what those insecurities were. But that is no excuse to leverage all of your power and authority against someone else because they're not friendly and warm to you. There is no excuse for that kind of behavior, placing the company at that kind of risk. And so she needed to be reprimanded, held accountable for her actions, and she was, right? That always needs to happen, but we can also see the humanity behind this, right? So if the reprimand is not a termination and maybe it's a verbal warning or a written warning, then that person needs to be coached to ensure that she never does this again. She needs some supports to process the experiences that she's had in her life that made her lash out against others in the workplace, not just the CHRO, but many others, right? We need to see her humanity in that moment. And then there's also a learning for the CHRO, right? As a person who is friendly to others, a person who gets people to warm up to them with ease, there comes a responsibility with that personality type. And the responsibility is to be aware of how you're treating other people that you may not naturally be inclined to be near. Don't make them feel othered. Don't make them feel like an outcast in the workplace. No, I am not saying that you have to take them out to lunch and go out for drinks with them and do social things with them. No, but in the workplace, you have to treat them with respect. And you have to treat them like a part of the team, especially as the chief human resources officer, the chief people and culture person. That is your responsibility. That kind of comes with the job, right? So there are learnings across the board, but that is life. We all have things to learn. I want to thank you for joining us to explore this case study and learning more about how we approach human resources in the workplace. We don't stop at what's easy. We go deeper and we unpack what's really happening between people. This concludes Word on the Street. To learn more about our work, reimagining human resources in America's workplaces, subscribe below and follow us on social media. We're constantly putting new material out there. Thanks for joining us.